Hello and welcome to another Hun's History Nest podcast, where history is enjoyed and salvaged forever. The Articles of Confederation are considered to be our nation's first government. These articles, as seen here, were actually created right around the time in which we were declaring our independence, as seen here in June of 1776. And it was created by the group which was conducting the war, the Second Continental Congress. Now, this government, while created in 1776, that summer, did not go into effect until 1781. And there's a reason for this. It would take time to what is known as ratify this document. And by ratify, what we're talking about is we're talking about having the people vote on it. And it was up to the individual states to decide whether or not the people or their individual state congresses would vote for it. The bottom line, what was decided, though, is that within the structure of this government, for it to become functional, 9 out of the 13 states would have to adopt it or give it a thumbs up, a yes. And these 9 out of 13 represent what we call a super majority. A super majority vote, which would become common in our current government, the Constitution, is what we call a 2/3 majority. This is different than the typical majority, which is known as simple majority. And a simple majority is when you have more than half. Now, the reason for the supermajority to ratify or adopt this government is due to the fact that they didn't want, if we had a simple majority vote, you could possibly have the 7 states that agree with it being less than half of the total population of the country, which would not bode well for a government that would be used to govern an entire country. Within the structure of this new government, there are a few things here that I want to identify that are limiting ideas, but then are also things that have power. And I'm going to use red for anything that limits this government, and I'll use blue to demonstrate a power that this government might have. And listed here are some of those. The first power this government has is international diplomacy, which means that this state will be, that states cannot act. This means that the states cannot on their own go to another country and create a treaty. Rather, what this entails is that the actual government has to make treaties with other nations or other agreements. So anything done internationally will be done by the national government. They also have the power to make money. They have the power to resolve any controversies between these states, so they can resolve any problems that exist. They will be responsible for coordinating war with other nations. This is something that won't be done by the states. A state can't declare war, only the nation can. Now, one of the limiting things when we look up here at these duties is that 9 out of 13, a supermajority, will be needed to create any law. This can be limiting in the fact that it's tough to get a supermajority to agree on anything. Many times it's hard to get, that, more or less a supermajority. A unanimous, which is almost impossible vote, will be needed to alter this government. Another limiting idea here is that we have one state, one vote, meaning you can send in this government as many people as you want to represent your state, but they will only have one vote. This one state, one vote is also limiting in the fact that it will be a unicameral Congress. Uni, which means one, and cameral, which means group, is going to conduct this Congress. This is one massive group. You can have thousands, if need be in the Congress, but only one state will have one vote. Perhaps the most limiting of all of the things that were put in place for this government is that they have no power to tax. They have basically no ability to get from the people of the United States tax money. They will not be able to tax. This will be left up to the individual states. Now, there's a reason for this: fear. They have just gotten out of a bad relationship with Parliament or England's government, which taxation was an issue, and they do not want to create such an entity on their own. So the states can tax, the national government can't. This is basically allowing for, as seen here, state sovereignty or state power, the power of the states to vote. The states actually will have more power than the national government under this scenario. Now, this idea here then goes to what's in the red box here. Why is this government not granted the power to tax? Ultimately, it's this idea of fear. However, in the next item that we're going to be taking a look at, the next podcast, you're going to notice, well, if they can't tax, how are they going to then gain money? And that comes to, in other words, the sale of land, which will ultimately become one of the first laws passed by this government, which is going to be the Land Ordinance of 1789, which creates the Northwest Territory.